Oh, good afternoon. Here I am with the Queen and His Excellency, the Donald.
God damn it, I brought up the wrong thing. A report this week claiming civilization as we know it is on the way out, that it will end by 2050 thanks to the march of climate change. Thoughts, Ed?
Well, is this an attempt to make it happen? Because the more you say these scary, what is it? The sky is falling?
Chicken Little?
Chicken Little, the less people believe it. And so I think we have a case here where Chicken Little has been said a little bit too much. If there's some great science behind that, fine. But 2050 is right around the corner. And there are a lot of people like yourself who will still be around, and 2050. And if we can't curb it now, we can't curb it. That's all that means. And it means it's really over. Mark your grave now. I suppose that's what we're saying. It's a little hard for me to believe, though.
In relation to this food insecurity, thanks to flooding and tariffs hitting the Midwest, last figures I've seen are only 67% of US corn and 39% of soybeans have been planted. Now, soybeans, of course, one of those we knew would be hit by the China trade situation. Mid-June, no more planting. So it looks like farmers could be coming up short.
They will. And this is going to hurt the American economy. It's not going to hurt the Chinese economy. They can get soy from elsewhere, particularly from Brazil. But it will hurt the United States. And why should a planter plant anything if the government's going to give them a subsidy? So we have a long-range problem here where if you don't plant, and you don't plant in the regular seasons, the soils get eroded, other bad things happen, the farmers aren't paying attention to their soils. So this is a super bad thing happening to the United States. But similar things happening here in Australia with the floods that have happened here. So maybe we can get together on this one.
In relation, we've seen a $19.1 billion disaster aid package sent through the House. Sending it on to the Senate and Trump's desk, Republicans have been wary on disaster aid, so where now?
Well, Trump certainly wants this one because it's affecting those countries, those counties and states that voted for him. So he really wants this. And it's a way of getting his aid package to the farmers without saying it's a tariff aid package. So I think Trump is really going to push on this one and push hard to get it through. And the Democrats are in a very weak position here. They need those votes too. So this is going to pass.
Meanwhile, US-Mexico negotiators have failed to reach a deal on tariffs. Trump is threatening to raise them due to the so-called border crisis, but Republicans set to go against the White House on this one. I believe in the knowledge that, of course, these tariffs will be passed on to American consumers. What's happening?
Well, there's another part of this. The Republicans especially don't want to use tariffs as for political warfare. There's been too much of that in the distant past, and they don't want us to raise its ugly head now. It is a very crude weapon that hurts both sides, particularly the United States, where farming is already crippled. And to put this tariff on would be disastrous. Mexico has been producing food because south of the border there haven't been storms. The U.S. needs those foods for its food supply. So putting those tariffs on Mexican goods mean your loaf of bread's going to cost more, your corn's going to cost more. It's not going to hurt the Mexicans. As a matter of fact, Mexican prices are up. So what do they care about the tariffs?
I just wonder, Donald Trump seems tariffs are now his favorite weapon, even though we talk about these drawbacks and these, backfires. He loves them. He keeps bringing them in.
No, he loves the idea of a tariff. He's probably aware of the economic consequences, but it gives him something to talk about and the kind of jingoism he really likes to indulge in so that he can be sprouting off and get cameras in front of him. The tariff is not his mission. His mission is standing up for America and being on radio and TV. That's what it's all about. The substance is lost.
While we talk border, we've seen multiple deaths of those detained by ICE, which were preventable, according to documents obtained by investigative website The Young Turks. Over a dozen cases in these documents where ICE allegedly failed to provide proper medical care, 3 of which resulted in fatalities. Not a good look, Ed.
No, it's not a good look, but let's take this for what it is. There are way too many people in detention, and so many people have been out in the field, they can't take care of the people in detention. The same thing's happening in American prisons. So ICE is a victim here as well as a perpetrator. They don't have the human power to do the job. They're not going to get the money from Congress. This is a big political game, and people's lives are being lost. And there are going to be some lives lost among the ICE members, too.
Looking overseas, North Korea reports claiming that the Kim Jong-un regime purged multiple top officials involved in nuclear negotiations with the US, executed some, another sentenced to hard labor, although Trump doesn't believe it. How do negotiations continue in good faith if indeed they could have anyway?
Well, I'm not certain why these people would be persecuted. They were sent by Kim Jong-un to do this job. Maybe someone said, look, give me a way out of this place, or something like that. I don't think it has anything to do with nuclear negotiations. I think it has an awful lot to do with the instability of the North Korean regime. And if the instabilities reach people who are negotiators for this regime, that means it's a very unstable regime. We could see some problems breaking out in North Korea. The trouble is they do have nuclear weapons.
And of course, Trump is in the United Kingdom this week, getting a royal welcome, although not such a warm reception from the people of the UK, many of which were on the streets protesting. Just any thoughts on what we've seen, Ed?
Well, I'm looking at the Queen and Trump right now. She looks dazed, dazzled, and bewildered, and he looks proud. So this is a win-win for Trump. And the Queen is doing what she has to do. Remember, this is about trade. The UK needs trade now. Brexit is a disaster for them, and U.S. trade relations have to be good. But as we've seen, the U.S. can't trade much in agriculture because they haven't got much. The UK still hasn't got enough products that Americans want. I haven't seen a UK product in the United States for a very long time. They're still pretty good in software and some things like this and jetcraft engines. But the UK's in deep trouble, and the Queen's stepping up for it.
And a frightening one when we talk about trade between the UK and the US. Trump has made it clear, America has made it clear, Boris Johnson, the likely incoming British PM, has made it clear.
Oh, my God.
The National Health Service has to be on the table in upcoming US-UK trade talks. I mean, this is like if Medicare was put up on the blocks for privatisation to keep a friendly relationship with our nearest trading partner, China. How worried should the POMs be for their healthcare?
Not at all. He's not going to do a darn thing with this. Those are words that came out of his mouth, and he didn't mean them. And he's going to put them right back because if you want the British people to get really angry at you, mess with their health care.
And looking ahead to 2020, Joe Biden, leader of the pack, embracing the Green New Deal. You're not going to win many Democrats over at the moment without a solid climate change plan, although I will point out many people claimed it was a top-tier issue in our last election. Didn't seem to make much of a difference at the ballot box.
Well, this time it will. Because this Green New Deal is not a Green New Deal. It's the infrastructure bank that Trump hasn't passed. It's about building roads and building infrastructure and improving the U.S. basic infrastructure. The Green New Deal is the basic jobs bill. And Biden's caught on to that. That's why he's endorsing it.
On the other, less progressive hand, though, Biden has just reaffirmed his support for the Hyde Amendment, which bars federal funds from going towards abortion services, except in the cases of rape, incest, or the mother's life being in danger. So progressive, but not too progressive.
Well, I think Joe Biden is reading the Electoral College. What states will he win by doing that? In which states will he lose? He'll lose none, and he'll gain a couple. So I think Joe is playing politics already. Shame on Joe.
And I just want to compare it, though, before we leave it, to Elizabeth Warren, someone who just isn't getting the coverage of Biden. She's up on climate change. She's anti-Hyde Amendment. She is absolutely fighting to be heard and painting a very real picture on policy. Where are her chances at the moment?
Well, we're still a little bit early out. I think she's recovered from that fiasco of Pocahontas. And now she's gotten on some very good issues. That's where she should have been all along. And I think by going back to the issues, she stands a chance, maybe not of becoming president, but certainly getting something good out of this. Not vice president, but something good.
Ed, a pleasure as always, mate. Thank you very much for joining us again this week.
Hey, another week. Maybe the Queen will give me thanks too.
Right. Oh, bang. Cut that one. All right, so that's good.